so much, Ed and team, for inviting me to moderate. So I want to welcome everyone to this wonderful event. So my name is Ivonne Valdes. I serve on the board of Conectado, and Conectado was formed about 3 years ago to bring STEAM to students, and it's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Our vision is, how do we bridge the digital divide? How do we get more of our students into tech careers and exposed to the great jobs and to create generational wealth? I am thrilled to have two wonderful ladies join me on this panel. Silvia, who is CEO of Cristo, and she was one of the early partners of Conectado. We have formed a partnership not only with Cristo, but with the Bioinformatics, as well as the Mark Cuban AI Foundation. So we do cohorts of students that we put through these certification programs. I am so excited that we also have Maria, and Maria is the co-founder of Inspírame. So Silvia, why don't you tell us a little bit about the work at Cristo and what inspires you to go that direction?
Thank you, Ivonne. Hi, everybody. Hi, good morning. First of all, thank you, Ed. Where's Ed? Where'd he go? Anyway, thank you, Ed Vargas, for inviting us, and Carmen Milagro, thank you for gathering us here at the beautiful Mexican Heritage Plaza. We are just a few blocks away from Cristo Rey. So many of you might know we're located on East Santa Clara Street, not far from here. And one of my favorite things to do is to walk over here and walk back. That's how I get my exercise. Walk to the Mexican Heritage Plaza. Some of you might already know about Cristo Rey, but I'll still give you a little bit of information, and maybe you might see it in a new light. We are a school that was built from the ground up to be for students who face barriers to opportunity. And what that means is that our students, and I don't know if we have the slide up, maybe we can go to the next slide. We serve currently 435 students, and all of our students are low income, and the majority of our students will be first in their family, first generation to go to college. Over 90% of our students are Latino, and so we have a huge focus on the Latino community. And we are extremely proud to be here again, so close to the Mexican Heritage Plaza and serving so many, and majority Mexican-American students. And then the thing to know about when I say we're built from the ground up to serve students facing barriers for opportunity is our focus is helping students to reach and realize their full potential. And what that looks like are a few different things. And I love the focus of our panel today because our conversation is about STEAM. When we think about STEM education and STEAM education, what does it take to have our students become leaders in that arena? Not just to be excited about it, engage with it, but really to become leaders. Well, it takes a few things. First and foremost, we believe it takes a college prep education, right? And college is one path of many to successful careers in STEAM, right? There are many ways to have a great career. We believe that we want our students to have options. We want them to have choices. And so our commitment to them is that they will be college prepared so that they can, if they choose, go to college. So we start with that, right? Knowledge is power. That education is powerful. But that's not the only thing it takes. It takes a lot of other things, as everyone in this room likely knows. And three things in particular. One is self-belief. You have to believe in yourself in order to achieve success. So we do a lot of work with students to make sure that they know their own power and potential. Self-belief. The second is you have to know what's out there. You have to know what the options are in the world, right? If you only see a certain set of jobs, those are the jobs you're going to aspire to. So knowledge of your options. And third is a network, people, connection. Many of us know that it's, what you know matters, but who you know matters sometimes even more. And so having that network and having access to people can open doors for you. And so how do we do that? Well, one of the ways we do it, and probably the most kind of unique way, is through our corporate work study program. So we partner, and maybe we can go to our next slide. We partner with over 100 organizations, and this is just some of them. I just wanted to highlight a few. Obviously, we're very proud to partner with Conectado, as Ivonne mentioned. We also partner with a lot of tech companies, other industries not in here, like law firms, banks, architecture firms, construction management companies, all kinds of different industries. And then a lot of nonprofits as well. And I want to say you get a very rich experience working at nonprofits as well as for-profit companies. One of our partners, for example, is the Tech Interactive, and the students get an amazing STEM exposure at that work placement. But every single student at Cristo Rey works 1 day a week at one of these partner companies. So imagine you're a 9th grader, and you're just turned 14, and on Wednesday morning, after 2 days, you have 2 days of school, and on Wednesday morning, you get on your van and you go to Cisco for your job. It's a whole other set of experiences, right? You're exposed to so much. You start to see yourself in this world, right? You are now a professional in this environment. You start to see the kinds of jobs that are at Cisco. So maybe you're in the engineering team, but you start to see, oh, there's also a marketing team. Oh, there's also a finance team here. Start to get exposure. And then you meet people who get so excited about you and want to support you. And when an internship opportunity comes up later on, that supervisor that's been working with you all year is like, oh my gosh, I got a perfect kid for this opportunity. Or even maybe they don't have an opportunity at Cisco, but that person has a friend who works at NVIDIA, or they have a friend who works at Meta or whatever other company, and they help you find opportunities. So our students gain access to all of this through this program. And so this is kind of, when you think about it, extremely innovative approach to breaking down barriers. And we like to say we are where Silicon Valley meets Eastside San Jose. And we're so proud to be at that intersection. The other thing I'll say is we have a lot of interest in healthcare careers. So we partner with El Camino Hospital, Stanford School of Medicine, and Sutter Health, and we see a ton of interest. Anna's shaking her head. We see a ton of interest from our students in healthcare, because that's where STEM becomes so real, right? Where you see, oh, this is a service that I use. This is very clear to me, the impact that this STEM career can have. All right, next slide, and I'll try to zoom through. So you can see some of our kids in their workplaces. Microsoft, Corsair, and ServiceNow are represented here.
Silvia,
Yeah.
One of the things that I want to interject is that there are some critical points that you brought up, which is the network. It's the self-confidence. Mm-hmm. Because as you mentioned, if you've only seen one kind of job, that's all you know. That is your world. And I believe that one of the critical themes that Cristo Rey does and has accomplished through the work study is expanding our lens of the capabilities and other people that look like us that are actually in higher power jobs.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Ivonne, that's such a great point. And I think I was actually going to mention we have some of the best supervisors that supervise our students are Latino and Black supervisors, because our students start to see what's possible for someone who looks like them. ERGs tend to be very supportive of the work that we do at these large companies. So yeah, thank you, Ivonne, for mentioning that. And if you want to go to the next slide, I will say what we're seeing is a lot of interest in STEM. So this is just some of the majors that our students last year's class was interested in. And when they graduate, they share, I forgot to say, last year's graduating class, 99% of students committed to going to college, right? And that's actually consistent year over year. 99 to 100% of every graduating class has committed to going to college. 80 to 90% each year to a 4-year university. So we're seeing our students really taking advantage of the opportunities being put in front of them. And they're very interested in business and engineering, as you can see, as well as healthcare, psychology, and computer science. So our Latino students are really excited about STEM. And that's, I think, really exciting for all of us that we can look forward to a future where we have leaders from our community in these fields. I think next slide might be, okay, sorry, before this, well, I'll just say this. when we talk about STEM versus STEAM, which I think is our topic today, what I love about this conversation is that we brought in STEAM, right? And so I think it's critical that we focus on STEM because it is hard to do. I think when we talk about STEM careers, we have sort of an imposter syndrome problem. And not just Latinos, right? Not just us, but the United States has this problem where you're like, oh, that's something for India and China to do. When you look at the numbers of people going into STEM, like, we're not doing it. Even though there's so much demand, there's so many careers, and there's so much need for this, and we kind of step back and don't do it. So we need more focus, we need more investment, we need earlier investment, we need high school, middle school kids to get exposure earlier. And what I love about STEAM is that I think that's where we have our competitive advantage as a United States, but also as the Latino community. Because it's not just science, it's also heart. It's also it's not just rationality, it's also creativity and innovation. Because when you add the A, which you guys might not know, A is art, right? When you add that to STEM, you get outcomes that are not just saving lives, but helping us thrive while we're living. You get inventions that don't just solve a problem and make us more efficient, but also make us happier, more connected to each other, and increase the social good. So I'm a big fan of STEAM, as you might be able to tell. And then the last thing I'll share is our beautiful mural on campus. So I wanted to tie this in with our theme today, which is our focus on our Indigenous community. Right? Most of our students at Cristo, their heritage is in Indigenous background. And we have a beautiful mural at the center of our campus. Anyone here know the artist Carlos Rodriguez? Yeah. So Carlos, who is just an amazing artist, I call him a genius because he's not just a genius in terms of making beautiful things, he's also a genius in terms of human connection. Brought us together, our community, students, families, faculty and staff, board members and neighbors, and said, what is our vision for this mural? We had a 749 square foot wall, huge wall that was blank. And Carlos got all of our thoughts and our vision for this mural, and he created this design. But you can't create a mural on a 749 square foot wall without math, right? And geometry, like you just can't. So that art is impossible without that STEM. And I think it's a great example of that. And then the last thing I'll say is the Virgen de Guadalupe is a very important image for our Mexican Catholic community. And she's often represented as a European woman. And so we're really proud that we have her represented as an Indigenous woman on our campus, and it's very meaningful for us to have her there, someone who looks like our kids' moms and grandmas. And all of this is possible because we married, right, science and art and community with a vision for our future. So that's a
beautiful story. So Maria, tell us a little bit about Inspírame.
Yes.
And why did you create it?
Yeah, well, nice to meet you, Ivonne. My name is, buenos días a todos. Maria Medrano is my name. And yes, I am the co-founder and CEO of Inspírame. I'm also a vice president executive at a Fortune 500 company. So I'm part of that 1% club that we were talking about earlier. I'm also the first in my family to have been born here. I'm proud Mexican-American Chicana, born and raised in the San Francisco Mission District. The first in my family to graduate from high school. The first to have gone to college. The first to have gone to graduate school, not once but twice, because you have to work twice as hard, right? And then break into the corporate structure. And for the last 22 years, I've worked at Cisco. So I know Cristo because of my days at Cisco. I've worked at Visa. I worked at Google, and I'm now at Equinix. And in the last 15 years, I've been in the C-suite of those companies. So I know all the players. I share this because that's why I built Inspírame. And not just by myself. I don't know what slides are on there. We can go to the next slide, please. I like to talk about, de donde somos de California, super proud about it, but even more proud about the fact that I was that first-gen student. My mom was 16 when she had me. My dad was 18 when he had me. They loved me and they gave me life, but they also told me that all I had to look forward to was education, and they didn't know how to provide that to me. So Inspírame is committed to not just getting people to higher education, but more committed to getting them through. I don't care about talking about the enrollment numbers anymore. I care about completion numbers. And that's the reality of where we need to be focusing our time, because our communities are not getting through and they're not completing in the areas they need to complete. And this is both for college path and also non-college, because they're both equally needed. Because I can tell you at Equinix, we need to ensure that we have a lot of folks that can help us build those data centers that requires a STEM aspect, that doesn't require the college degree, but it requires a certification. But we need to make sure that we are enhancing the exposure, because most people don't even know that that's the reality. And so what we've done at Inspírame is couple the lived experience with the expertise that we have generated, which I bring the 20 plus years of corporate structure. I can say that I'm a workforce expert through and through. And my husband, who spent the last 20 years in higher education as an actual community college counselor. Talk about having seen over 70,000 students, and not just their students, but also their parents, and really ensuring that we can digitize those pathways so we can bring these pathways to our youth as young as 13 years old. So when they are in middle school, they know that they can actually start taking community college classes in high school. And when they're in high school, they know they can start taking community colleges to prepare them for college. And for those students that think that school isn't for them, that's who we're focused on. We're about, Inspírame is about everyone, not just those that think they should be going to school because they've been told from a young age that you are going to go to school. We are talking to those students that have been told that they shouldn't be going to school, they don't belong in school, because we believe they belong there. And having been a chief diversity officer, I can tell you the numbers are dismal, and they're only getting smaller and smaller by the day. And so the essence of Inspírame is, how do we increase enrollment? How do we increase exposure? How do we improve retention? And how do we ensure that we digitize the experience of higher education and we normalize and tell the true story of what's possible for everyone that has any interest in gaining a skill that could be for getting directly into the workforce, or it can be going through the college path? Because I can tell you, being the first gen college-going person in my family, it was not easy. I can tell you many times where I was asked, what are you doing in this classroom? Why are you here? You should be actually cleaning the kitchen. You should be cleaning a bathroom. And it's no different being in the corporate structure. Can you get me a cup of coffee? No, but you can get me a cup of coffee. That is the reality of what we're experiencing every single day, and it's not getting any better. And so
No, it's actually, let me give you a little data point. It's getting worse for women.
absolutely.
I entered Silicon Valley in the 1980s, and I was the only woman in the room, only Latina in the room.
Yep.
And now we're seeing more women opt out.
Yes. Yes. It's
And
2024.
so we've got a serious problem.
It's a serious problem. And if we can go to the next slide, I can tell you why we're so committed to this piece. And so I would say that in Inspírame, we put a keen focus on community colleges. Why? They're the largest form of higher education across the nation. They're open access, which means that anyone can go to a community college. It's where you can go get a certificate. It's where you can go get a college degree. However, look at these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Look at these numbers, and these numbers are not getting any better. So the state auditor published this report that in 4 years, if you're in the community college system, you're completing your goal 21% of the time. And if you're a Latino or Black, it drops to 15%. Native American, ni se diga. The numbers get smaller and smaller. These numbers 5 years ago were 23% and 17%. These numbers have a direct impact on who goes on to study STEM. They have direct impact on who go on to get these roles and who gets into the workplace. Like, we should really, really look at these numbers and be really upset, because these are our tax dollars, and this has been happening for a very long time. No one's ever held anyone accountable for the fact that we are not ensuring that our students are actually getting through the systems that we have set up to support their learnings. That's the essence of a community college, being in the community and building the skills locally. And so this is what we focus on. We partner, obviously, with middle schools, with high schools. We partner with colleges and universities. We partner with lots of nonprofits. Why? Nonprofits are hungry to partner with us, because nonprofits do what they do really well to support their community, and they know education is key, but they don't know the educational paths. They don't know the loopholes. They don't know all of what's needed to get through the system, and that is what we built at Inspírame with our product, Teco Guide. So if we can go to the next slide, this is just an example of what Teco Guide does, right? I think, yeah, sorry, I can't see, there's a glare here. But imagine we've built an app that is downloadable that you can put onto your phone today for free. Apple Store, Play Store. And anything and everything that you would go see a college counselor or a guidance counselor for, you don't need to necessarily do that. You can start with DecoGuide and get all your questions answered so that when you're actually going to meet with your counselors, you are better ready to actually ensure you have a conversation that you know you need to be having, because many times we don't even know what questions to ask. And again, I bring this from my lived experience of having remembered, I can count the number of times I saw a counselor in my 15 years of getting my college degrees, maybe 2, right? Lacked cultural relevance. There was nothing that connected me to the individual. And so that's why Inspírame matters, is that everything that we create is with a cultural relevant tone to ensure that we're meeting learners wherever they may be so that we take away the judgment. And we love to say that at Inspírame, we take a lot of pride of rebuilding the crushed spirit that so many of our education systems provide and do to our students, and not just our students, but also their parents. And it's been done because of my own lived experience, but also what I'm seeing in the workplace. Sitting in these boardrooms, being the only, hearing the conversations happening, and that if we aren't stepping out to actually create a solution for the problems we know exist in our community, and it's not just here, it's all across the nation, then like I say, then what am I doing here? ¿Pa qué? So that is what we're doing at Inspírame. We're super excited about the conversations we're having. It's needed, and it's super important. Anyone that wants to have a conversation with me around education, I can show you what our app does, but I think you all get the sense of what's being done here. If we can go to the next slide, I want to leave with, this is just our reach, but one more slide. I think this is the one thing that, sorry. This story here. When you look at the stories and the folks that we touch, again, my husband is the person in the middle. The gentlemen that are around him are youth that have been formerly incarcerated. They were incarcerated for 10 years in many cases. The youth came out thinking that they had nothing more to do than to come out and figure out whose other rules they needed to follow. And we said, no, we're going to follow whatever it is that you want to do, and let's teach you what's available. And so this is where the exposure comes into play. This is where sharing those stories are important, and this is where letting them know what are those options and guiding them through by being intrusive and ensuring that we're meeting them where they are, which everyone is on their phones. So why not be on those phones with content that's really relevant? Because if you look at all the folks that are on this picture now, they're all now first in their families to have gotten their GED, and they're all now registered at the local community college studying something that is very interesting to them. And I can tell you that no one's going to stop them now, because it's going to get harder and harder. And we tell that. We don't pretend that that's not hard. But it's so much easier when you have blueprints and when you have folks that can inspire you and share their stories to ensure that you can be connected to their network, which is something that we've been talking about through and through around the value of that network, because it does make a difference.
Can I just add something? So I've seen the product, and I just have to say that the concept that's sort of mind-blowing is the simplicity of it, and yet the fact that it doesn't already exist. You know it's a good product when you're like, how does this not already exist?
Exactly.
The thing that blows my mind is the stats that you shared about community college. Community college is supposed to be this great transition to more. And what we're finding is it can be a dead end in a lot of cases if you only get a few credits and then you don't know what to do. And what Inspírame does that's amazing is it helps you figure out what classes you need to take and when you need to take them. Sounds simple, right? But because our system is so big and complex and impersonal and lacks the resources to actually help an individual figure that out, this is a hugely helpful resource to have. So if you have young people in your lives that are in community college, point them to Inspírame.
I think you both made a very important point, though, which is how do we get the stories to these students? Because going through the coursework, for example, through Conectado, we met some Berkeley students that actually started their journey in community college. And what's interesting is when their guidance counselor encouraged them to apply to Berkeley, the young lady said, "What is Berkeley?" Right? And I asked her what her first day at Berkeley was like. And she said it was overwhelming. I came from a farming community. My parents are pickers. I had never experienced anything else. This young lady wound up actually interning with Conectado, and is now on her way for social studies. because she's realized that the world is a lot bigger than what she thought it was. And she has a place, she belongs. And I think I love this summit that Ed hosts every year because it's about inclusiveness. What makes us different actually makes us very special. So if we could bring that to the workplace, it would be a win-win-win.
Ivonne, you're speaking my language. I talk about this all the time with our boards about my value proposition is the win-win-win-win approach, and it's absolutely through the storytelling. And that's why at Inspírame, we take a lot of pride in the content of what we deliver. The content you'll hear is only real stories by real people sharing their real stories, and you're gonna get that story because you have some connection to them. Because that's the other problem. There's just so much noise in the system that it confuses and overwhelms our students. And so I think that's the value. If I would say, I know we have to close up here soon, is the importance of being able to have these conversations and really ensure that we have a holistic approach to what we get to do, but really creating solutions to problems that have existed for so many times that you said beautifully, like, why doesn't it exist? Exactly, it doesn't exist because people that could create it weren't ready to create it or didn't know they could create it. And this is why timing is so important, that we have to do something now.
Ed, do we have time for one question or two?
We need to close, so any last comments? We move on.
Maybe I'll just say one last thing, which is you have more power than you think to shape a young person's life. When you meet a young person, imagine and know in your heart that their potential is vast, no matter who they are. If you approach them with that understanding, you will change their lives. If you think, oh, this is the future, a future Albert Einstein or Marie Curie standing in front of me, you're gonna help make sure that they are. So just keep that in mind. I think that's the biggest thing you can do to support our young people, is to believe in them.
And the only thing that I would add to that is the power of words. I've had the opportunity to mentor a few Cristo Rey students. And when I tell them, I believe in you, I know you can do it, it changes their whole demeanor.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
Ivonne. Thank you, yes.
So I see that the next moderator is actually just joined.
Do you want to say something, Mahan?
No, I think I said it before, but again, I mean, it goes in the name of Inspírame, right? Do your part to inspire that next person and just know you're not alone. So please leverage us however we can be partners, especially as it relates to my app and the work that we're doing. We have to do better. It's absolutely required of us. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, ladies.